Welcome to another edition of the Imagine Exposure vodcast. This is the vodcast where we are trying to reverse engineer or help students to better reverse engineer their career goals and their career plans. And we have a legend. We have a phenomenal woman who is, she's going to explain herself and she's going to explain her background, but a long-term friend of our families, and has done so much in the community, has done so much in different schools. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to Miss Linda Corry. How you doing, Miss Linda?
I'm fine, Zachary. How are you?
I'm doing quite well.
Great.
Our first question out of the gate, we ask every guest, is who are you and how do you define yourself?
My name is Linda Corry. I was born and raised in Orangeburg, South Carolina. I attended Christ the King Catholic School from kindergarten to 8th grade, Orangeburg High School from 9th grade to 11th, and then when they integrated, it became Orangeburg Wilkinson High School. So I'm the class of 1972, with the first historic class of Orangeburg Wilkinson High School, the first class. I graduated from South Carolina State University in 1976. When I attended, it was South Carolina State College. And I received my master's degree from Savannah State, Armstrong State in Savannah, Georgia. When I graduated, I went to work in teaching music. I'm a music educator. My major was music education at South Carolina State. And I taught in Savannah, Georgia for 3 years, kindergarten through 5th grade, or 5th grade. So I was an itinerant traveling music teacher. That was my first job. I love music and I love teaching. And then in 1979, I went to Columbia, South Carolina and taught at W.A. Perry Middle School, 6th through 8th grade. And I stayed there 21 years.
Wow.
And everybody said, how did you stay at a middle school for 21 years? I said, because I love the students. And I said, somebody has to teach them. And I said, when you get to know the children and they know that you love them and care for them, they'll love you back. And then I retired in I retired in 2008 and came back to Orangeburg, South Carolina to live with my mom. She wasn't sick, but I didn't want her to stay alone because my daddy had died in 1999. And then God blessed me with a job at Marshall Elementary School here in Orangeburg, South Carolina, where I taught pre-kindergarten through 5th grade. And I love those kids just as much too. I retired in 2008, and I'm a retired music educator. And now I'm teaching private music lessons at my home. I'm a piano teacher, and I love piano teaching. And I had 2 piano recitals, and it's on YouTube. The last one I had, the most current one, was 2022.
Okay.
And all you have to do is look up Linda Corry piano recital 2022.
Okay.
And then the first recital was a public recital, and that was in 2010 at the Orangeburg Art Center. And I had it on YouTube because of the COVID. I had 2 adult students at that time. I have 1 adult student now and 4 students from in the middle school and high school. So I enjoy teaching piano lessons. That you just can't get the teacher out of me. And there's a shortage of piano teachers, so I grew up with the piano teacher, and everybody used to take piano lessons, but now a lot of my friends and people that I know, they don't want to teach private piano lessons, and they have piano lessons in the middle school, like at Clark, and Maurice Middleton is doing a great job, but it's everybody's on the keyboard at the same time with the earphone, but I give private attention to the kids. So I teach Zoom lessons now because of COVID.
Oh, understood. And what I'll try to do is I'll try to find that YouTube clip and just put it and post it in the link so people will be able to see that.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Zachary, for selecting me to be on your podcast and interviewing me. I think it's an honor. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, you're
So
too
it's
kind.
because you're a brilliant, intelligent young man.
I appreciate
And
that.
I pray God's blessings upon your life
I appreciate
as
that.
a writer, a motivational speaker, and everything else you do.
I do.
Especially loving the Lord
I do.
and a
appreciate
minister,
it. Amen.
the gospel.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. What would you say? What is your story?
Explain to me, what is my story?
When I say story, you have defined the vocational piece, and we can use that in and of itself from what you have said. But a lot of times, it's important to get context. You love music.
I do.
Love the Lord. Like, what about your upbringing made it so that now this is who you are? Sometimes we're seeing a part of the story or a fraction of the story.
Yes.
But I always just ask just to get however long you feel comfortable sharing. What's your story? What has led you to the point that you're in right now, who you are today?
Okay. When I was born to Mr. James Corry and Bessie Corry. I have one brother, Derek Corry. And my parents instilled in us a love for God, the church, loving your fellow man, treating everybody good. And we were brought up in the church, Sunday school, vacation Bible school, church, and other activities, Baptist Youth Fellowship. And just to give you just a background of that. And by teaching, I always loved children. And today as adults, I guess my story is I want to motivate, inspire, and be a mentor to those who need a mentor in their life for guidance and direction. A lot of kids look on YouTube and the Facebook page and other social media for guidance and direction. You need a live person in your life as a mentor to share their life experiences and motivate you, to encourage you on your life patterns and your goals and aspirations in life. So that's what I was taught, and to do good unto others, as you would have them do unto you, and to be kind and loyal and loving. To reach out to those who are less unfortunate than you. Sometimes just speaking and smiling at people will just lift their day and encourage them, and just give them inspiration.
Sure.
I share the Bible with them, Bible verses, and I invite them to church and Sunday school and other programs, prayer meeting and prayer services and Bible study. So there's a lot of people in this world that need someone, and they're lost. And you'd be surprised when you speak to people, like when you're out in the store or something, and smile and say, "Hi, how you doing?" And some people are shocked. "Oh, hi." Because one man said, "Nobody ever speaks to me." I said, "Well, I do." Because, they're strangers, but we're all God's children.
Sure.
So that's, I guess, an answer to my question, to love mankind and to be a beacon and a mentor and just help someone, love on someone.
Yes, made in the imago Dei, the image of God.
Yes.
What would you say is the biggest misconception of your job?
The biggest misconception of being a teacher is that I was shocked and surprised. People would tell me, "You taught school for 21 years in the middle school? Those children are bad. And how did you teach 33 years? I taught a total of 33 years.
Wow.
I taught in Savannah, Georgia for 3 years. I taught in Columbia, South Carolina for 21. And I taught 8 years here in Orangeburg. So I have to get them straight and clarify it. I said, "You must know that children are not bad." I said, "You don't know where they came from and how they were raised and what they've seen in their life, in their households."
Sure.
So I said, children are looking for somebody to love them. And when they lash out, you said they're mean and they're bad, I said, "Don't say that in my presence." I said, they don't, that's the anger with them. They're looking for love. and nobody has reached out to touch them. And you have to meet them on their level. If they're still mean to you, keep working with them. That love will win them over. So that's one of the things I think I want to share with you about being a teacher. And I also want you to know I'm trying to inspire young people that are in college to go into teacher education, because in the last 5 or 6 years, there is a severe teacher shortage in South Carolina and all over the United States. And a lot of the complaints are that I have to deal with the children and they're unruly, as far as discipline, and then their parents. And I said, no. I said, if you don't teach them, who's going to teach them? You have to think now. And you have grandchildren and you'll have great-grandchildren. You go stay home and teach them? So then they said, oh, you have a point.
That's true.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Our next question is, who would you say are the people in your vocational story in which you're the most grateful?
In my vocational
Or life in general,
yes.
Who would you say these are people I'm grateful for?
Well, I'm grateful for all my teachers. I went to Catholic school, all the nuns that taught me, because I had nuns during that time. I can't name all their names. That's too many for this interview. My teachers that inspired me, there were so many. Mrs. Jenkins, my piano teacher, she's deceased now. Mrs. Williams, she's deceased, my piano teacher. And then, trying to think who's my last, Mr. Claude Eugene Pinson. He had a very, very impact on my life. Beautiful impact. He was a motivator. He was an excellent teacher. There's so many people that are retired teachers, but most of all, my mother and father. And I'm just thinking here, your grandmother, Ms. Louise Johnson, she was an encourager and had an effect on my life, as well as all of my friends that I grew up. We have a girl group.
Okay.
Cassandra Johnson and her mother is Louise Johnson. Mrs. Robinson, Glennis Robinson, Darby's mother, and she lived on Ashland Drive also. Mrs. Weaver, Lily Weaver, her mother was best friends with my mother. She lived on Brookdale Drive. She's deceased too, up the street. And I know I'm leaving somebody out, but all of those ladies and others that I can't remember right now.
Yes.
Mrs. Evans, that was my family health teacher and home economics teacher at OW. There's so many people that have had an impact on my life. Some of my college professors, Mrs. Hines, she was my African American history teacher at South Carolina State. And that was my sophomore year at South Carolina State. She taught me African American history or Black history that I never had. And I told her, this was not in our books, and we only concentrated on Black history February. It's only 28 days. And she inspired me a lot too. So, okay, and Mrs. Rosemary Adams, she's deceased also. She was my piano teacher in my junior and senior year. She influenced me too. She was hard on me. I never practiced so much for her to impress her, And it's just so many people. I know I'm missing somebody. But all the ladies and men in my life, there have been men in my life too that were male teachers that inspired me also. So I can't think of anything else, Zachary. Okay. I'm aging gracefully,
No, you capture a lot. That's a very long list.
And my family members, my aunts, my uncles, my nieces that were older than me, my cousins and stuff. I don't have any nieces. My brother don't have no children, but my cousins, yeah.
I got you. Okay. So this next question is about the economy of words. How do you say it in the most efficient and succinct way possible. So my question to you is, define everything that you do in one sentence. Then I want you to define everything that you do in one word. How can you boil it down to one sentence? If somebody said, what do you do? And what statement or what sentence captures what you do or what you have done as an educator, as a music teacher, a music educator, and then in one word, what you do for your students?
I think that I have, and I still want to inspire, encourage, cultivate, uplift all mankind, including my students, my friends, strangers. I want to have a uplifting word to all people. I want to be a beacon of light. I want to show kindness, love, thoughtfulness, and to sum up one word for me. Zachary, that's hard. Where you get that from, Zach? Love.
Love. Okay.
Love. I love everyone.
That's good.
And I like to display my love for everybody. Love. I think that's love because Jesus loves us.
Amen.
In spite of everything we do that we know is wrong and what is right, you know, he's right that he loves us. All our weaknesses and all of everything that we have, yes.
All right. Well, speaking of love, the next question is tied into love. What would you say you love the most about your job? What's the one thing you say above everything else you love this about what you get to do as an educator?
I love teaching so much. And you know, when you retire and then you're going to still teach, you know, private piano lessons. I love the exhilaration of teaching children. And I had 2 adult students. I have 1 adult student now. I'm teaching them, and in my teaching them and all the hard work that goes with it, to see them succeed in playing a composition, playing a piece, see them go on and play for churches, Sunday school. I've had a lot of students that became church pianists. And because of COVID now, a lot of them, my adult student, she used to play for Sunday school, you know, during Sunday school, after Sunday school, but they already had a church musician. But just inspiring them. And I want you all to know that I found out what church all my students attended. And I called the pastor and said, I just want you to know that I teach my children hymns out of the hymn book. I teach them gospel songs and contemporary gospel. So put them to use in your church. I said, because that's the way I was raised. I started at New Mount Zion Baptist Church in Orangeburg, and all of the teachers that I had, I forgot, were inspiration to me. The ladies and the men, from a little girl, they taught me a lot too. So that's inspiration also. I got off track, but I think that's what you said.
No. I think that's right on track, and it's the expression of love. It's what love looks like.
Yes,
you know,
yes. And they showed me love.
Okay.
So if you show a child love or an adult, it passes on. If they truly have that in their soul.
Sure.
You have to show people love.
I agree.
To receive love, you get love.
It definitely gets reciprocated for sure. What would you say has been the biggest challenge? On the other end of the spectrum, we talked about the thing you love the most. But on the other end of the spectrum, what's your biggest challenge, or has been your biggest challenge as an educator in this field?
The biggest challenge in my career is teaching. My biggest challenge when I was in the classroom was when I was teaching and I couldn't connect with some students. And they didn't get it. You know, what I was teaching, the music. But now in my classroom, I taught science, math, language arts, and geography and social studies. And I told them music entails all of that. And so when they would come, I would ask them, I said, how's your homework doing all your subjects? And one little boy raised his hand. I thought this was a music class. I said, music is all subjects,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
And so what I would do, the challenge for me, is that your question? Was that when I didn't, the child or the adult, whether it was piano lessons or in the academic world of music and chorus, when they didn't get it, whatever I was teaching, you know, I said, okay, you're going to stay after school. We're going to have some tutorial lessons. And I wouldn't stop till they got it. The kids were shocked when I asked certain kids to do a solo. I had choir rehearsal at Marshall Elementary and WA Perry Middle on Wednesdays. And sometimes coming up to spring concerts, we had spring concerts and Christmas. They would be shocked that I would ask different people. Because, you know, in some choirs, now I'm just talking, some teachers pick the same people who do all the solos. You've seen that in your life.
That's true, for sure.
And then I would step out of that zone and say, oh, no. I'm going to pick, I would ask another, one of my students, I said, I'd like for you to try out for the solo, an audition for this selection. They said, me? And the kids said, her? Him? And that was my challenge.
Right.
I'm going to give this person confidence and through my teaching, cultivate their voice to sing on pitch, because some of them was tone deaf. Ain't loud enough. I had to pray at the piano. Lord help. Touch, anoint Jesus, Holy Spirit. Lord heaven, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, anoint them as we try to get this piece done or this song.
Sure.
So that was my challenge. I never gave up on a student. In whatever I was teaching them, whatever they were going through, whatever. That was my challenge. I'm going to get through to this child or to this adult or my friend or whatever. That's my challenge. I never quit. I never gave up.
I love it.
And when I saw that it was going nowhere, I would tell them, I said, you just hang on. I'm here for the long run. They look at me. I said, you can't get rid of me. And now I see my children all over Orangeburg. They're adults with grandchildren and stuff. I said, I'm not that old. You got grands, you know. I said, you must have started out early, you know. And they said, the reward is they come to me and say, Miss Corry, I'll never forget, you were the best music teacher and teacher, period. We could come talk to you. You taught us so much. And some of the things you taught us, because you like raised us, I have these children and some of the disciplinary tactics, I do that. So that gives me such joy, because one dear little girl came and Lord, I had a time with her. Miss Corry, I know I gave you a lot of misery. I said, She said, but you never gave up on me. And she said, when I was mean and tried to talk back to you, you had a way of, you know, coming back to me. You punish me now. I said, you know, I punish you now. But you never gave up on me. And when you did that to me, I knew you loved me. And I was looking for love. And she said, I never saw it out of some of the other teachers, you know, that write me a referral and I'd be in detention forever, be expelled. But she said, you never did that. In fact, she said, I was in your classroom and other teachers sent you to other kids that they couldn't handle. I said, just come on in, bring your work, sit over there in the corner, and I'll talk with you later. And I said, and I told the teachers, I said, just bring them to me. Whenever I see them, they couldn't handle it. They were having a temper tantrum or talking back. I said, come with me. Yeah, so that's just love. And my mother said that she knew I was going to be a teacher because when I was young, I would have old books or something, and my brother will fuss today. He said, I got tired of us playing teacher. I would come out, he would be playing football or basketball, baseball. Come on, everybody, it's time for school. It's time for us to play school. So as a little child, the Lord touched me to be a teacher. And I had the books out, I'd give them homework. So teacher was in me from a little girl, teaching.
That's good. What would you say are the steps to become certified or respected when you talk about teaching music, teaching piano? What steps to become respected in your career, your profession, or certified?
Treating others with respect and courtesy.
Yes.
And letting them know whether you're teaching them or just being around them, you're doing great.
Oh, yeah.
God has given you a beautiful talent. Encouraging words. You can do this.
Yeah.
And even in piano lessons, when they start making a lot of mistakes, I'd be praying, before they get there, and I said, "You didn't practice, did you?" "No, ma'am." I said, "Well, that's all right. Miss Corry is going to work this through with you."
Yeah.
And I said, "Let me say this to you." And, I think a lot of kids were shocked when I tell them that. I said, "Miss Corry understands you have a lot on your plate and your calendar." I said, "You go to school every day. After school on some days, you go to cheerleader practice, football." I had boys too. Football practice, basketball practice. Some of them had tutoring. So your schedule is hectic. You have to go home and do homework. I said, "I realize that. I just want you to know." And the children look at me, "You do?" And I said, "I do, but I said, let me tell you, give you a plan. On Saturdays, and sometimes you go to church after Sunday school and church, eat your dinner, take your little nap, go straight to the piano and practice. Saturday, if you have nothing to do, go to the piano. You probably have homework." And I said Sunday. And it worked out like that. So I gave them options, so that's how I handle it. And even in school, I would tell them, I said, I said, "Miss Carter don't give that much homework, but when I give when I had tests." They thought because they was in music, they weren't going to have no tests. This is a music class. We got tests. I said, "Oh yeah, you can learn all your musical symbols and terms." I said, "We're going to have a test every week." In fact, my children to this day, they 30s and 40s. "Miss Carter, you remember when we first met you? And you had I had rules. I had a poster board of the do's, the don'ts, and the consequences. I would go over them and drill all my rules and everything, consequences. And then I said, and I said, write them down in the music notebook. I said, "You're going to have a test on the 7 do's on Friday or Thursday." I said, "We're going to do that Friday. Everybody have a test Friday. We're going to have it Thursday." They said, "We're going to have a test on rules?" I said, "Oh, yes." And I said, "Guess what? If you don't pass the test with high grades, I will be going over the do's, don'ts, and consequences to the end of the year." "That's all we going to do?" I said, "That's all." So they heard and learned those do's, don'ts, and And I gave them a grade for that. That was the first thing. I said, "I'm not going to teach any music. We're not going to sing no songs. We're not going to go over nothing until you learn my rules, my do's, don'ts, and consequences." That's the first thing the children asked me. "Were you still doing the do's, don'ts, and consequences?" I remember that. In fact, they sat there and recited to me. They old as Methuselah.
Absolutely.
So they remember that.
Well, and what's interesting is it seems like even in educational theory, and like I know that there are educators who would be able to break this down on a deeper level, but from what I understand, classroom management is still a huge part of it.
Oh God, that's why a lot of teachers are leaving the classroom because they feel that they have no help as far as the principal and their team leaders. And when I went to Columbia, I thought it was beautiful. That was my first job. They at WA Perry Middle School, they assigned me a mentor.
Okay.
Because that was my first year there.
Yeah.
And I would meet with her, and any problems that I had, I'd go and she would give me some classroom management tips. Yeah, so that's the main thing. And in teacher education, when I was in college and university at State, and most people, they don't teach you tactics for classroom management. They do, but for these days and time, it doesn't work.
It's different,
yeah. Yeah, and look, they also said, always talk to the children in a soft tone. Don't lift your voice high to them. You could hear my voice outside the door to school because the children know I'm at business.
Oh, yes.
And I said, and I challenged a teacher. I said, at home, their kids, some of their parents don't talk to them soft. When they do something wrong and they discipline them and put them in check, it's with a harsh tone, but it's a loving tone. My kids knew that I loved them.
Right.
When I disciplined them with a harsh tone, or it wasn't harsh, but I lifted my voice, they knew it was out of love.
Love behind it, for sure. Foundational.
That's why I said love.
Absolutely. It's foundational. One thing I like to do is to ask this question because often when we talk about Black history, we don't always talk about the fact that we didn't always have seats at the table from an economic development standpoint, or as it pertains to being able to charge for services and charge equal fair value. And so one of the questions I ask is, how do you negotiate either your salary or the value of your services when you are communicating, hey, this is what I'm valued at, and I would need you to pay this in order to continue on in terms of the business that I do.
Okay.
You don't have to get into the specifics, but just
Okay, no,
what are some
I'm going to
things?
say this first.
Mhm.
Teachers have been underpaid for centuries.
I agree.
Through the South Carolina Education Association and the county local teacher organizations, we have been lobbying through the legislature for higher pay. We're not respected. Teachers are not respected. And when I was younger, I kept telling the kids, and I kept telling everybody, I said, there's going to be a teacher shortage in years to come, and it's here.
Absolutely.
I said, teachers have to have 2 and 3 jobs, Zachary, to teach.
I agree.
A lot of men wanted to teach, but they had families, and they were breadwinners along with their wife.
Sure.
But they had to have 2 and 3 jobs, and that wasn't fair. So now, as you see, I heard our governor saying we're going to have to tackle this problem. We're going to have to pay our teachers more money, and I'm asking legislature to, raise their salaries. I'm saying, now you just talking about that,
Right.
and so he's saying, which is very pitiful. I'm so sad. They're going to have to go out in industry and other places in businessmen, to have them come in and teach, because they don't have nobody to teach, and they can't get subs.
Right.
And with the economy like it is, and inflation, everybody has a sign that says no hiring. In the post office have no hiring for months.
Right.
Something's wrong.
No, you're right.
And I asked a lot of people, I said, well, why are people not coming? He said, I don't know. It's just like they don't want to work. They want to work, but I don't know what it is. I think with COVID, people got complacent. And then they must have was getting some kind of checks. I wish I could have got one of them checks and everything. And so now, and one man said at the post office, he said, we get the applications, but I don't know, they don't get to hire them for some reason. I don't know.
It's very interesting. Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, a lot has changed, but even with this, what I'm doing right now with social media, the method behind the madness is I want to create a model so it can help teachers in their additional,
Wonderful.
in their side.
I thank you. I thank you.
time,
Thank
so they can
you.
make additional income.
Thank you.
So,
And the second part of the, you said, how do I negotiate with my piano
value
parents? I let them know. I said, this is my price. And usually, at first I said 45 minutes, but I'm long-winded. I usually be an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
So the children are going to get their money's worth. I mean, you go get your money's worth. I teach the children music theory. I teach them music symbols, how to sight read music. I said, and how to perform, how to sit with proper posture, how to hold their fingers correctly on the piano.
Sure.
I said, I run the gamut. So I said, check my credentials.
Yes.
I'll give you my where I've worked. And I said, see what they say about my teaching. I said, I pray for my students, and I'm praying for the parents. I said that God will anoint me and give me the strength and courage and teach me how to teach these children. I need guidance too. So that's what I tell the parents. And I said, this is my price. And I said, if you have anybody that's lower, that's fine. I said, but this is my price.
Yeah. And you sit at the table. I totally
And I really haven't gone up in 10 years. So, and I know with my retirement salary, I need to, but I know parents and everybody's going through a time with grocery prices, gas prices, and utilities. So I just ask God to help me with, to stay the same price.
Okay. Next question is about, I call it the time machine question. If you could get into a time machine and talk to your former self or talk to yourself many years ago, how, what advice would you give yourself? Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself?
That's a question, Zachary. My old self, long time ago, but I tell myself.
And the thought behind the question is like, when we think about all of the information you acquire through experience over time, there's just a way in which, like, even by this podcast, there's a way I would have approached the podcast initially. Now, 2-3 years into it, that, you know, when I first got there, you're so gung ho about doing this, and a lot of those things you don't even need. So, what, if you were to get into a time machine and talk to your former self, what advice would you give yourself?
One of the things, not to trust everybody, even your closest friends.
Yeah.
That's one of the main things. You know, you've been taught all your life to love everybody and all this and that, and not to trust everybody, and that includes, I hate to say it, friends and family. And that doesn't apply. I'm not saying this from my family or nothing and blighting them, but I'm just saying, you have your guard up. I think also, believe it or not, I used to be shy, and everybody said, "It's no way." I said, "Yes, I was a shy little girl," and I wish when I was younger that I would have spoke up a little bit more than I am. I'm more vocal now, and I express my feelings, and what I feel about things, and what I'm going to take from people, and what I'm not going to take from people. Now I wish I did that a long time ago.
Yeah.
But being so nice and kind and all that, and meek and humble and all that, because I thought that's the way you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But you learn from life, trials, hardships, and you grow by every year, every second, you're learning something new. This can make you a better person.
That's good.
Yes.
Good. When you think of end game, or you think, I know this is going to be a little different for you than most people because you are retired already. What advice would you give to someone who's planning for retirement, or planning for end game, or planning to transition in their role as a music educator or doing piano teacher? What wisdom do you have for that, creating a transition?
I would advise and give them some wisdom. Before you decide to retire, look at your salary that you presently have, and then go and make a note of all your bills, your expenditures, emergency fund, and see how much all that is. And then see if you can live on, go to the retirement system. That's what I did. And I asked them, how much would my retirement check be? And see, I was smart. You do that 2 or 3 years before you go retire.
Right.
You don't wait till the last minute. My mother was in the car, and this is just something funny. And I went to South Carolina State Retirement System, and my mother was very wise. God gave her a good gift. I guess she felt I was going to go crazy in there. I said, "Mommy, come on out, and you can sit in the lobby." "No, baby, I'll stay right out here." I said, "I don't want you staying out here." She said, "No, I'll stay here." So I went in and I talked to one of the retirement ladies. She was very nice. And I said, "I'm planning to retire in 2 or 3 years. And she said, "That's wonderful. You came in time." So go and talk to your retirement person, and let them know, and you find out everything about retirement. And how much they go take out Social Security, how much they go take out this and that, your retirement, and whatever that is. And so you check your expenditures, your bills, and see if you can live on that and pay for it. So when she gave me the amount, and she told me verbally, I hollered. I said, "This is all I'm going to get monthly for all the years I taught school." People came running. I was very loud. I didn't mean to I hollered. I said, "I know I'm worth more than this." I said, "This is not enough for anybody to live on. A child can't live on this." So everybody came running. is everything all right? The lady said calmly, she just found out what her monthly retirement check will be, because I hate to say this, and I don't hate to say it, South Carolina does not do people justice with their retirement check. I'm serious.
I agree.
Other states, they call them pensions. They get large pensions.
Sure.
And so that all goes back to how much a teacher is worth
I agree.
to the state of South Carolina, and maybe other states too. So she had to calm me down. She had to pat me down, and she said, "Can I bring you a soda?" I said, "Bring me something. I might need something stronger. I don't know." I said, I'm in a state of shock. And I said, "I see my mama didn't come in. She would have been ashamed in the lobby. She would have heard me hollering." Because I said, "This is all." I was in a state of shock. Right. And so she said, "Calm down." She was so good. She said, "Miss Corry." I said, "Am I the first one to holler?" She said, "No, everybody that comes in is shocked." She said, "But now, didn't you say you're a music teacher?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, maybe you can play for a church." I said, "Well, I used to play for a church, sugar, back in the day." I mean, I just retired like 2 years before that. I said, I got to the point that I knew it was time for me to just stop. I loved playing for church. I said I was playing church since I was 5 years old. Yeah. I said, I'm tired. Yes. And teaching school. See, I had, at W. Perry, I had like 6 classes a day. Some of them were hour and a half. Yeah. Then when I started in Savannah, no. I had 28 classes a day at Marshall, my last job. Wow. I mean, a week. Yeah. 28 classes a week. And that was just too many people. It was just like I was working on an assembly line. They would come in for 20 minutes, out, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, out. 20, and that's another reason I retired early, because of my health. It was too much. And Marshall was one of the largest elementary schools here in Orangeburg. And so I told the lady, I said, well, I said I was going to stop for a while. She said, well, maybe won't you take start teaching piano lessons? And I said, I thought about that. I said, in fact, my advice to everybody is to write down whatever you're going to do. Always have a supplemental job on the side, because if you're a teacher, you're going to need it. And then I sat there and I told her, I said, no wonder everybody I know, the educators, when they retire, they go get another job. Another, either on the college level, that was the thing in Orangeburg. They are adjunct professors at Claflin or South Carolina State, or Orangeburg Calhoun Technical College. And then some of them would come back after retirement in the public school system and teach again. And I used to ask, I said, why are you doing that? When I saw that retirement check coming there, I said, it's not enough to pay bills. Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah. You pay your bills and you don't have nothing left for the rest of the month. And so my advice is to think of a supplementary career or job you can have after you retire, because you're going to need it.
Great advice. Great advice. All right. We are almost at the last 2 questions. This is something I ask each guest, and I put it on a meme on social media, things like that.
A meme?
A meme.
I know what a meme is.
Yes, indeed. So what would you say are the essential principles of your job? When you go to your job every day, or whenever you are working, what are these kind of things that you take into work? So I call it the Cultivate Countdown, but what are some, would you say, the essentials to do what you do?
Okay. And we're going to go back when I was teaching in the public school first. Sure. Well, in the morning I would have so many duties. I had breakfast duty. We had to be there at 7 o'clock. Okay. And then I had to run down the hall, because the teachers would bring their children to my music class, music, art, PE, and other classes. And I needed some time. When I went in my room, I sat down and I started praying and asking God to guide my day and give me the strength to teach the children. I had a long prayer. And then I would sit and just meditate. And then I would write down everything I had to do that day. And just had some little silent, I had to wind down, because I was telling everybody what to do, as soon as I got up, to get to school. So I had to wind down for my, 7 or 8 classes a day. I had 7 or 8 classes a day. And so that's one of the things I think, tips I'd like to share with them. And then at the end of the day, look at everything that you wrote down and see if you've accomplished that. And, every day say, okay, I didn't get to that today, maybe tomorrow, but it's not something major.
Yes.
You get to it when you can.
Right.
Because your health is important. You don't want to stress yourself out. You don't want to get burned out. So my best advice is to do what you can.
All right. Well, this is our last official question. If we had to put this, if we had to give a Corryism, what would you say is the one motivational quote that you want associated with who you are, what you've done, what you're doing in the future? What is your one motivational quote?
Can I have two?
You have to.
All right. One of my motivational quotes from the Bible: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Treat people kind and loving, even if they're not kind and loving and thoughtful and courteous to you. The second one is to keep Christ in your life and the Word and the Bible in your heart. Read the Bible daily. Keep Christ in your life. Talk to the Lord. I talk to the Lord exactly like I talk to you. And I share that with a couple of people. You talk to the Lord like you talk to me? I said, yeah, I don't talk to you ugly. I said, but he is my personal savior. He's my best friend.
Yeah.
I love the Lord.
Yeah.
I share everything with him. And I said, he may not talk back vocally to you, but you will hear an answer from him. It may be from reading the Bible. You open the Bible and you may be on the verse.
Yes.
Or a lesson in Bible study, or a sermon, or somebody in your life may say something you said, that's confirmation. So that's one of the things that I do. And then I ask the Lord to forgive me for all my vices also. Okay. And he does, because nobody is perfect. And like I told you, I said, we all sinners saved by grace.
We all go through it. I was looking at 1 John, when it talks about those who say they are without sin are lying. Like that we are under construction. Ephesians 2, 1 through 10, where it talks about.
What is it now?
Ephesians 2, 1 through 10, where it talks about us being dead in our trespasses. And I'm kind of summarizing, paraphrasing.
Sure.
But, that we are saved by grace, that it's not of anything that we can do, unless we would boast as a result of that. And it ends and says that we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. And so we see the process of salvation, but also sanctification, growing daily in Christ. And so I want to give a sermon. So I'll
all right, Reverend Middleton, go on. I love it. I love it. I love it.
The sermon bowl.
I love it.
But thank you so much for giving your thoughts, your insights, and your wisdom. Is there any final thoughts, anything that you would want them to maybe direct towards YouTube, or direct towards any way that you would want the viewer to be directed towards you, or something that you're doing in the future?
I'd like to say, first of all, thank you, Zachary, again for selecting me, and I've enjoyed this interview. You were excellent. I think I would share with everybody, live your life to the fullest. Do all the things you want to do. And if you can't do them, you ask God if it's his will. If it's his will, guide and direct you to have that happen. And if not, maybe it's not the time. And always remember, God's timing is perfect timing. He knows what's good for you in your life. So I guess what I want to leave is read the Bible for instruction. That's your daily instruction and for guidance. And treat people the way you want to be treated. And just love everybody, especially love the Lord.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, I think that's all I want to say.
All
I
right.
can't think of anything else, Zach.
Well, it's
You
Corry.
covered everything.
Okay. No, you did a great job.
You did too.
Well, Ms. Corry, that is our time, and thank you so much for being on the platform.
Okay.
And my hope is that this video, and I know it will, help a lot of people. So thank you so
Well,
much.
I pray and hope it will.
Yes, it
Okay, thank you, Zachary.
All